Cool. So, if you guys have that pen and paper, we're gonna kind of start off with a little exercise. But first off, my name is Jacob Torrey. I'm just a guy who loves Jesus up from Seattle, and I've been filming since I was 10 years old, and kind of just found a camera in my mom's room, and she told me never to use it, and whenever she left for work, I'd use it, and I just kind of fell in love with the process of capturing a story and telling a story. And so as I've grown up and kind of fallen in love with that, it's become a really big part of my life, and it's what I do for work now, and it's my favorite thing for sure. So with that being said, I'm going to share a little bit more about my story, but first, kind of wanted to do an exercise, and maybe we can type these answers in the chat or these questions in the chat. But basically, on your pen and paper or on your iPhone in your notes, I'm going to ask you 5 questions. I'll give you context later, but just answer these 5 questions to the best of your ability, and then we'll kind of revisit it later in the call, and it'll kind of be some interactive stuff that we'll do. But if you have the pen and paper, the first question is, who is the most important person in your life? Who is the most important person in my life? And I'll give you guys some time just to think about that and write it down. Um, we got 5 questions, so don't be too worried. It's nothing crazy. But yeah, that first question still is just, who is the most important person in my life? Second question is, what breaks my heart most in this world? What breaks my heart most in this world? And I probably is it all right if I type these out, or is that, I'm gonna, just so people can look back?
I've got to go for you, Jacob. Yeah,
Oh, you
whenever.
do? Okay. I couldn't see them. So, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Second one is, what breaks my heart most in this world? Third question is, when was the most difficult time in my life? When was the most difficult time in my life? And you just answer these questions on your paper. This is just for you. This isn't for anyone else. You can just write it on your paper, and then we're going to set it aside here in a second. Question number 3, when was the most difficult time in my life? Question 4, when was the most hope-filled time in my life? When was the most hope-filled time in my life? And then lastly, number 5, what, not who specifically, but what is the most important thing to me? Could be family, could be sports, could be anything. What is the most important thing to me? And then once again, I'll just run through those in case you're just jumping in. I see we still got people joining, but first question is, and I see we got it in the chat too, which is great. But yeah, who is the most important person in my life? What breaks my heart most in this world? When was the most difficult time in my life? When was the most hope-filled time in my life? And what is the most important thing to me? Great. Cool. So what I'm going to have you guys do is I'm going to just share a little bit about myself so you can kind of sit back for a second, and we're going to revisit these questions later. So if you wrote them on a paper, what I'm going to have you do is just fold it up, keep it, and we'll revisit that. But yeah, so I grew up in a family. I had a great childhood growing up. I mean, my parents were divorced, so that was kind of the more difficult thing growing up at the time, just kind of navigating that and everything. And in high school, I had been filming throughout all my life, and through every different phase of my life, I did videos that kind of fit the phase I was in. But around senior year in high school, I had gone through a pretty difficult breakup and was pretty, heartbroken over it, and kind of turned to drugs and alcohol, and I kind of started going down a path that just was not great. I didn't grow up in the church. I have a couple memories of ever being like in a church by chance, and one of them was like on Halloween, and I was trick or treating or something, and so that's I didn't really know the Lord whatsoever. I just kind of knew what I heard from movies and hearsay stuff like that. And then the summer after I graduated, I actually started to do some pretty bad drugs, and had kind of had this overdose moment where I really kind of felt like, man, I might die, like, because of this. This could really end terribly. And so I started just kind of getting really nervous and scared, and I ended up just kind of laying down and praying. And I'd never talked to God. I never had done anything like that before. And I just said, Jesus, I don't know why you would ever love me or give me an opportunity to make it through this, but I'm pretty certain I'm going to die right now in this kind of overdose moment. And I just pray that I'd be able to see my mom one more time, or say hi, or, there's just so many people I want to say goodbye to if I were to die. And I just had this moment of kind of crying out and just asking for his forgiveness, not really knowing what the salvation process looked like, not really knowing what, not growing up in the church, I didn't know what that all looked like. But that night I gave my life to the Lord, and I just said, Lord, if you bring me through this, I promise I'll try my best to serve you for the rest of my life. And the next morning I woke up just totally changed, and I didn't know what it was. I thought it was some after effects of the with the drugs that I was on or whatever, but the side effects lasted for months, and I started to just really realize, like, something in me changed, something's different. And kind of in that process, I started to attend a church. And at the time I was, 18, 19 years old, and I had been filming for quite a few years at that point, been doing it professionally for a couple. And I had just started falling in love with Jesus, and really starting to just see what community could look like, what the good in the world could look like. And I hadn't really ever been exposed to that. And so the best part about all of that was this moment where I had been doing a lot of filming, doing a lot of projects and that kind of thing. And I had actually been reached out to by a pretty great brand that would have been great for recognition and all that kind of stuff. And at the time I was, my Instagram followers were going up, and I was, getting all excited about that. And this big brand reached out to me, and they said, hey, we want you to film a behind the scenes video of one of our photo shoots. And what was really crazy about that time was I remember just feeling, it was the first time I'd ever felt this, like, what I know now was like the Holy Spirit. But it was just this feeling of like, this isn't right. This photo shoot is going to be like, girls in bikinis on cars kind of stuff. And it was very much the scene I was in. It was very much what filming had become for me at the time. And so I kind of just had this deep moment of conviction, like, this is not what the Lord would want for me to do with this gift. And so I ended up setting my camera down for a year. I didn't touch it. I just felt like, I was like, Lord, I'm going to take a year and just kind of decide what this tool is to you. What does a camera mean to you, Jesus? Why would you bring this, into my life, and what purpose would it serve to you in the end? Because it certainly wouldn't have been that behind the scenes shoot. And so in that year, I didn't really know what would come of it. I ended up switching majors and decided to go to Northwest University up here in Washington, and got my degree in ministry leadership, and just fell in love with ministry, fell in love with Jesus, and just really fell in love with people in a way that I couldn't before, because I didn't understand grace and I didn't understand forgiveness, not mostly for myself. And obviously when you experience that for yourself, it really helps you just have grace and forgiveness for others. And so, so kind of in all of that, I picked up my camera after a year, and just really have been in this 5-year, 6-year kind of wrestle with my flesh of really just feeling like, gosh, there's like, there's just so much content. There's so much art out there that doesn't seem to point towards anything. It kind of just points to a dead end, kind of just, it's great, it's a fun ride, it's fast, and then it's over. And it's like I just really have this deep conviction to make things that matter, make things that last, make things that are really truly art, not just a cool picture or a cool video. And which those things aren't bad in and of themselves, but it was my heart behind it. I was like, where am I at? And so that's been kind of this ever unfolding thing in my life. And I want to share with you guys a video, and I'm going to post is it all right if I post the link in the chat? Is that a good spot for me to do that?
Yeah.
So for me, kind of my journey as an artist, so to speak, and I just feel weird calling myself that, but I think my journey as somebody who wants to worship God with the gifts that I, have been given, that for me are just this deep desire to tell stories. The big moment in my life where I created something and watched it and looked at it and had this awe and this like, wow, like this is beautiful, is this video I actually made for my little brother. And it's about 3 years old. And from a technical standpoint, I'm always growing. I do video full time. So from a technical standpoint, it's, by far not my best work on like a technical point of view, but yet it's still, I think to this day is the most artistic thing I've ever been able to create. And I think the reason behind that has so much to do with the story that is being told and the love that is being literally transferred through pixels on a screen. And to me, I think that is just the most beautiful thing. And so I think this video is a deep reflection of the love that I feel towards my brother through the lens of grace and forgiveness, because we have, we butt heads growing up a ton, and we kind of, distanced from each other. And after at the start of quarantine, he actually moved in, and so we're living on bunk beds together now. So that's totally awesome. Not really. But this video was made 3 years ago, pre-pandemic, and I just want to share it with you guys to kind of show you what I think sums up my favorite piece of artistic creation. So I'm going to post this link right now in the chat. I'm also going to play it on my Zoom call. I'm going to, if you can share the screen with me. The hard part is it kind of lags and it's like really glitchy and all that. So if you want to watch it smoothly, you can just click on that link down there and it'll take you straight there. And then if not, no worries. We'll play it here. It'll just be a little glitchy. So I'm gonna pull that video up. See, share screen, host disabled. Okay.
I can let me fix that for you so you can share.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Go for it. Should be good now, buddy.
Okay, let's see. Okay, is that working? Oh, everything just crashed? That was weird. My computer just shut down.
On April 28th, 1997, this world was blessed with this fat little sack of joy. His name's Seth, and he's my little brother. If you didn't already notice, he's kind of adorable. But on top of that, he's just an outright savage. And the best part about being an older brother is that literally for no reason at all, my brother just looks up to me. He looked at me like I was some sort of hero growing up, and although I didn't deserve it at all, here's an award to prove it. As any brothers would, my brother and I fought occasionally growing up, but for the most part, we always found ways to have fun. It seems like we would pass time by making memories. And as I look back on all the crazy, ridiculous, stupid things that we would do, I realize now more than ever that I wouldn't trade any of it for the world. But as we got older, my brother and I actually started to push away from each other. We didn't see eye to eye on certain things, and we just kind of let that get between us, and eventually he would move off to college.
Bye-bye.
It was in this time where he was gone that I realized how much I loved him, how much I missed him, how much I wanted to be a part of his life. And I realized that we didn't have to see eye to eye on everything. We didn't always have to feel happy. In fact, we would go on a trip eventually that we would both realize these things and decide that despite our differences, we would love one another.
That was crazy.
You got right out there, didn't you? Yeah, it's fun. Good job. Ow. I barely even see you. Okay, Jake, yeah, that was Jacob Torrey. Quicksand! What? Okay, go. Here, I'll go first then. No! No.
I always expected that my job as an older brother would be to tell my brother everything that he should do and to show him what it meant to be a man. But what I didn't expect was that my brother would show me what it means to be a man. And that my brother would teach me one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned in my entire life, and that's the fact that choosing to love someone is the best thing you could ever do, because love is the best thing you could ever experience. And life isn't just about good and fun and exciting experiences. Life is about experiencing the true depths that love has to offer, and you can't just stumble upon that. You have to choose to stick through the mud and the crap and the ugliness to get to that place. And Seth, you have taught me what it means to love. You have taught me what it means to persevere and to push forward. And I just want to say, I am so proud of the man that you have become. I love you. I choose to love you. And thank you for not only just a fun trip to New York, but for a fun life. I never thought that we would get along the way that we do now. But I'm so happy that we chose to stick it out and to find this, because I would never replace this for anything else in the world. Seth, I love you.
All right, are we back? Is that working? Cool. Yeah, so like I said, definitely take a look at the link if you had to watch through the lag of all that. But that to me, like I was saying, is the, I don't know. I've tried to create things since then that would have the same emotion that I've felt every time I've watched this, even to today. And I think that feeling that I've had, that it's that awe, it's that inspiring moment where it's like, this matters. This is important. This is a story I'm uniquely positioned to tell. I mean, it's, fun to go and hang out of a helicopter, but that's what I thought would be the most fun of the trip. And what was the most fun about that trip was that my brother and I were kind of forced to have, a few days together where we just had to put up with each other, and he had already been off at college for a while. So it was easy just to not respond and not talk. And for us, it was a staple. It was a moment in our lives where he was no longer my little brother. He was his own person. And not that he was not ever his own person, but he was really this, he had his own identity in a way that he didn't have before he left, because he kind of walked in the shadow of his bigger brother, which he's like 6 feet tall now, and I'm like 5'6", so that's not fair. And he definitely is not in my shadow. He's like partly in my shadow now, but it used to be entirely. And so for that trip, it just was this moment where I feel like I really got to know him for him as an adult. And so watching it, there's just this weight. It's like, I'm so glad I was able to capture that moment. I'm so glad that I was able to create something that told that story of the love that we have. And every time, like, I showed him the video the first time, and he just like wept. And the second time he watched it, like right after, he wept again. And just having a moment of holding him and just crying together about just celebrating this bond and this love that we always wanted, but had never really truly established. It was just so interesting how a piece of art could kind of play a part in all of that. And so, the fact that this is something I watch every time, and it continually takes my breath away, not because I created it, but because of the story and the brother behind it. To me, that's art. Art is felt. Art is intentional. Art is always telling a story. And I want to read out of Exodus 31 really quick. This scripture has been extremely pivotal in my life, just as I've tried to understand how to use photos, how to use video, how to use these different things to I'm careful with how I say this, because it carries so much weight. It's worship. I mean, art is an act of worship to God, and this scripture has really helped me to understand that. And so, if you haven't read it before, I'm going to be reading Exodus 31, 1 through 11, and I'll be reading out of the NLT. Exodus 31, 1 through 11 in the NLT. Just seeing that. Julia Kennedy saying, sorry, I got here late. I'm getting here now. This will be recorded, so you can go back. The questions are in the chat up behind it. But Exodus 31, 31, 1 through 11 NLT. Then the Lord said to Moses, look, I have specifically chosen, I'm going to mess these names up, so just be patient with me. The Lord said to Moses, look, I have specifically chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, grandson of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. I have filled him with the Spirit of God, giving him great wisdom, ability, and expertise in all kinds of crafts. He is a master craftsman, expert in working with gold, silver, and bronze. He is skilled in engraving and mounting gemstones and in carving wood. He is a master at every craft. And I have personally appointed Aholiab, oh my gosh, sorry guys, son of Ahismac of the tribe of Dan. That one's easy, Dan. To be his assistant. Moreover, I have given special skill to all the gifted craftsmen, so they can make all the things I have commanded you to make: the tabernacle, the ark of the covenant, the ark's cover, the place of atonement, all the furnishings of the tabernacle, the table and its utensils, the pure gold lampstand with all its accessories, the incense altar, the altar of burnt offering with all its utensils, the wash basins with its stand, the beautifully stitched garments, the sacred garments of Aaron the priest, and the garments for his sons to wear as they minister as priests, the anointing oil, the fragrant incense for the holy place, the craftsmen must make everything as I have commanded you. So with this scripture, it's always important to kind of understand the surrounding context of when you read a passage. And so what comes before this is Moses is kind of getting the download of kind of God's framework, his blueprint for what God's chosen people are to look like, how they're to live. And so God is kind of giving these rules and these procedures and these processes that are meant to help his people stay near to him and to walk in his ways. And so I just think that it's so important to realize that. Look at the emphasis that he puts on art. Look at the emphasis that he puts on the craftsmen, the tools. And then it was bronze, silver, and gold, and now it's photo, video, graphics, music. I mean, I guess music's always been around, but we're just in a time where there's so many more crafts to be utilized. And when we look at this framework, when we look at Exodus 31, I hope that we can look at our cameras and we can look at all of the tools that are out before us, and we can think to ourselves, how can I worship God with these things? How can I intentionally position myself to tell the stories that align with God and the story he is telling of bringing his people back to him? And so that's what's kind of preceding it, is this, this setup for, okay, this is what my chosen people are going to look like. This is what it's going to, this is what's going to happen. Boom, art. And then he kind of talks about Sabbath. And then later, as Moses is coming back down, I found this just really interesting, that while everybody was waiting at the bottom of the mountain, they start kind of getting scared. They start doubting. They start having fears, and they start kind of casting in all of their assets, their golden earrings and their golden, nose rings. I don't know what they had back then, but all their gold. They start kind of sacrificing it and giving it to Aaron, who then takes it and actually creates and use his skills of crafting gold to build a golden calf, because of their fear that their God had forsaken them and left them. And so they there's kind of this immediate almost contrast where we see the Lord really setting a framework of, look at what you create matters. What you create is an act of worship to me. I delight in it. I created you. And in the same way, the Lord delights when we create in his image. And so then to immediately see this other picture of people creating out of fear, creating out of need to fulfill some sort of self-gaining thing. I think the golden calf today is comparable to, not saying that being financially stable is a wrong thing, but when I struggle with this all the time, is like, am I just taking on stuff and spending my time and energy not to use as an act of worship, but am I actually using that just to, profit off somebody? Am I kind of plowing over somebody in the process of getting money, or am I trying to create a name for myself? And I've taken a break from Instagram for quite a while now, just because I don't think Instagram is wrong. I don't think it's wrong to be on Instagram. I just think personally I've really had to check my heart, and it's been quite a process. And but I think we see this comparison between what God's will is for art and yet what man chooses. It's this whole worldliness, godliness kind of contrast in creation. And so if you're taking notes, I hope that if you leave with one thing, it's that what we create matters. What we create matters. We can worship through our crafts. And I just want to take a moment and I really feel like the Lord put it on my heart that there is just people right now, young people who maybe you spend hours and hours watching videos and learning and tutorials, and you're passionate about photo or graphics or video, and there's so much excitement inside of you. And every time you start creating, there's this excitement. And I just want to call you up and I want to say, keep pressing into that. Be a master craftsman, learn the trade, learn the tools. But I hope and I pray and I just urge you to realize that God will always put an anointing and a calling into the crafts, and you don't ever have to make it on your own or do it on your own. There's nothing that you have to do by yourself and in and of yourself, because the Lord delights in when we create, and he will, if you want to get those crafts and surrender those crafts to him, he will fill you with his spirit, and he will send you to go and create things that matter. And that was the first time I felt that in this video with my brother. It was the first time I created something where I was like, this matters. This is so important. And seeing the way it affected my brother, and the way that watching my neighbor who was, growing up, he's always like the sarcastic neighbor that you didn't really understand. And so you just thought he was really mean. And then you get older and then you realize he's actually just really nice guy and just super sarcastic. Well, I showed him the video and like he started bawling, and I was just like, oh, okay, did not see that coming. And just hearing like from people what it meant to them, it's just such a special thing. And I think if we all realize that we are all uniquely positioned, I want us to bring back those papers. I see a couple of people talking about that in the questions in the chat. Maybe we could repaste to the questions in the chat. If you haven't already written down these questions, take a second and write them down. If you already wrote them down, I want you to open up that paper and I want you to look at it. And I'll give you guys a second to do that. I'll make sure that we can get those posted in the chat. There they are. Thank you, Gabriel. I'll just read through them again so we can kind of even just think about them. Is who's the most important person in my life? What breaks my heart most in this world? What was the most difficult time in my life? When was the most hope-filled time in my life? And what is the most important thing to me? To circle back and to kind of explain why I chose these questions, for this video that I made of my brother, which is really just I've used as an example because I kind of want to create an opportunity for you guys to do something with whatever artistic expression you choose. But in this question, who's the most important person in my life? For me, it was at that time, it was Jesus. And to the point to where I had really stepped away from really important friendships and relationships in my life to pursue Jesus. And it was really lonely because I was trying to trust Jesus and say, I want to go where you want me to go with you, Lord. And I had to say goodbye to a lot of friends that I didn't want to have to say goodbye to, just because I couldn't surround myself with people at that time that were participating in certain acts. And so one of those people at the time was my brother, just because of his location, not because of his lifestyle choices. But second is what breaks my heart most in this world. What breaks my heart most is people not realizing their worth, not realizing the value that they have. And I think my brother is one of those people. He's very soft-spoken. Like I said, he always we got to talking in New York, and he told me about how, it was so hard for him growing up because he would always go to class and be like, oh, you're Jacob Torrey's little brother. And he always just felt like that's what he was. And I feel like that was the first time in my life where we kind of got to start having this dialogue of, who is Seth, and kind of really starting to be able to call him up, and just seeing him just step out and just the man he's become has been incredible. For me, number 3 was, when was the most difficult time in my life? It actually was this time. It was this time of kind of restarting as a follower of Jesus. And when was the most hope-filled time in my life? It was simultaneously that. It was the most difficult and the most hope-filled time, because I knew that the Lord had more in store for what he wanted to do in the relationships in my life. And then lastly, what is the most important thing to me? And for me, it wasn't family, but it was becoming family. And it was kind of the season that started to shift. And so all of a sudden I had a lot more of a desire to invest in my family and to spend time with them and to not kind of lose them in the process of everything. So those for me is how I would have perhaps answered those 5 questions at that time. And so what I want to do is we're going to do a little contest. I know this isn't super interactive in this very moment, but it's hard because, you know, that video of my brother took me hundreds of hours to edit. So with wanting to give you guys enough time, what we're going to do is in a week from now, I want you to take these 5 things that I had you write down and incorporate all 5 things into some piece of art. Create something that has all 5 things in it. It could be a song, could be a poem, could be a photo, a video, whatever it is. But I want you to use these 5 things to tell a story. And I hope that, and I pray that when you're doing that, you can begin to see the unique positions you have in your life, the unique connections you have in your life. You are the light of the world. I mean, you, in creating and telling these stories, will be testifying of what God has done in your life. Even if it's not this straight testimony of like, hey, this is exactly how I met Jesus. It's this reflection of who God is and how he's changed your life. And people see it. People see it without it being bullet pointed. You know, people feel that and see that. And so I just want to call you guys up and say, you know, if you've never created anything and you kind of just want to give this a shot, like start here, you know, try this. If you like photos a little bit, try it with photo, try it with poem, try it with song. But I hope while you're doing it, you would just really see the unique position you have and that what you can create will matter to the people that are in your sphere of influence, and that you can change people's lives directly around you just by creating something as an act of worship to the Lord, because God's will is for his people to come together and to live in unity. And so he will 100% get behind that if that's where your heart is at in what you're creating. So I would just encourage you to invite him into that. And so for that contest, and maybe we can write this down in the chat, but we're going to give everybody 1 week, and we're going to give out some prizes for some of the favorite pieces that come out, whatever they may be. And what you'll do is you can just post them to Instagram or email them into, I'll give you guys an email in a second, but post them to Instagram. What kind of prizes? Could be gift cards, could be merch. I don't know for sure. I don't want to say something and not be able to follow through on it, but it'll be worth it. It'll be fun. It is, but yeah, so if you can post it to Instagram, whether it's an IGTV or a photo or whatever it is, a graphic, go ahead and tag me and Foursquare Next Gen. So that's me, which is at the Jake Guy. I'll type that in just because it's kind of, I always like tell people and then they just never get it right. And it's kind of my bad. I should have put a better username. At the Jake Guy, and then also at Foursquare Next Gen. Tag both of us in it. And then we also want to do the hashtag. Just let me sure I get the right one. SDE 2020, I think is a hashtag, right? For hashtag SDE 2020. Boom. So yeah. So go ahead and start thinking about that. But I just encourage you, look at all 5 of those things and see what you can create, and you got to incorporate all 5. You can't jump out on one, and I'd love to see what you guys create. I'll be responding to those on Instagram as you guys are posting them, and really looking forward to that. And that's kind of the last of the me talking portion of all this. I think we're going to open up, do some Q&A stuff and just have some conversations around everything we just covered and any questions we have. To people who don't have Instagram, yes, we can do Facebook. I don't have Facebook, so let's do email. What about Spanish people? Go for it. I'd love to see it. Let's see. Let's just do. Gabe, would you know a good email for people to send things into if they don't have an Instagram?
I get one for you.
Okay, great. So we'll add that email here in a second. and then we'll announce those winners next Friday. And yeah, have fun with it. Go for it. And yeah, I think we're going to open it up for Q&A now and end with that. So let me pull that up. Okay, it is 12:42. So here's the newer questions. I'm not allowed on Instagram. What do I do? Email. We'll send an email. We'll give you an email that you can send your stuff to. Let me know if that also doesn't work. How did you know that this is what God wanted you to do? It's a great question. For me, it was something I just fallen in love with when I was a kid, and I as I set my camera down for a year and started to, I thought at the time that I wanted to be like a lead pastor or something, and it was kind of actually in that year and in some conversations with some people who have been absolutely pivotal in my life, that I started to kind of realize, like, okay, maybe I'm positioned to actually do video after all, because it kind of was discouraging at the time. Felt like maybe, I at the time, in my immature thinking, I thought that video could only ever like lead to vanity and lust and things that were wrong, and I didn't look at it as something that could be an act of worship to the Lord. And so that's when I knew it was what God wanted me to do, is when I realized that I could testify through video and I could worship through video. I don't have Facebook either. Okay. Does email work? Ember B, it was unclear to me. What are we submitting? So, sorry, it's any piece of art, whatever you want it to be. Any piece of art that could be music, photo, video, anything that includes the 5 questions that we put up earlier in the chat. So it can absolutely, yes, a drawing, literally it could be spaghetti art. It could be anything you want it to be. It just has to incorporate those 5 questions. Is it difficult? It could be, depends. What's my Instagram user? The Jake Guy. Life Center, smiley face. Well, hello. What is the due date? Next Friday. So what is that? I don't know, the 2nd or something. Friday it's the 31st. Still July. It's the longest month ever. Yeah, so July 31st, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. How do you keep from doing stuff for the world, likes, recognition, instead of for God? That's a hard question. I don't know. That's, I think, something that as you spend time with Jesus, he will kind of, he'll steer you. He'll tell you, he'll convict you. And he just is so full of grace and love, and he's just his timing is perfect, and he knows exactly what to say when we need to hear it. And so I would just really encourage you to just pray about what you're posting, what you're saying, the platform you're using. I think right now there's a lot of hate in the world, and there's a lot of suffering, and there's a lot of pain. And so I would just encourage you to use platforms as a place of as reflecting Jesus. So that's what I would say for that. If I click answer live, is that just going to make it, you would like to answer this question live? Oh, okay. Can you believe this is my 2nd time? I've used Zoom twice now. So you probably can tell. On Instagram, what was the hashtag we are supposed to use? Also, what is Jacob's account name that we need to use to tag him in the post? The hashtag is SDE2020. SDE2020. Can I take a picture that incorporates all of my answers? Can you? I don't know. It's hard. Art can be difficult. So it might be a hard picture to take, but that's where you get to kind of be creative and make that work. Hi, can I do a drawing? Yes, please. I love drawing. I cannot draw. I'm like ambidextrous, but not in the cool way. I like do a lot of things left-handed, a lot of things right-handed, but neither great. So whenever people draw, I'm just amazed. Please do drawings. What was the main thing that inspired or made you change your mind about where you were going with your life? Actually, it was I don't know if inspired is the right word. It was more of a moment of conviction. It was kind of this moment where I wanted to, I had a 1.3 GPA in high school, 1.7 GPA my first year of college, and then had a moment where I felt like the Lord was asking me to go to university, and I laughed in his face because I was like, I would never be accepted into any university. And I felt like the Lord just really urged me, like, you know, if I'm asking you, like, I'll make a way. And so I ended up calling a university and kind of giving my testimony, told them what I was feeling, asked them what they had to offer. And as soon as they talked about the ministry leadership degree, I was like, that's totally what I wanted to do. And it doesn't, and it's funny because I spent all this money on a degree and I don't use it in my day-to-day profession. But I think what's really awesome about the degree I got is it's really shaped who I am as a follower of Jesus and given me a pretty good understanding of how to approach faith. It has not given me all the answers about faith, but it's helped me to kind of understand how to start discerning and thinking through the kind of stuff that comes with that. So how do you specifically invite God into your art making process, Alicia G? There is no answer for that. For me specifically, I guess you asked that, you specifically. For me specifically, I will kind of observe my life and kind of look at the people around me and start to ask the question of, like, how can I play a part? Right now, I actually have a client. I do wedding videos, and I have a client that have kind of become like my best friends, and we're actually going to start making a video for them that's going to take like 10 years for us to film. And it's just like this kind of opportunity for me to help them just tell their story and kind of have like a photo book, so to speak, 10 years from now that's centered around video. So I think it's just kind of, looking at what's around me, looking at who's around me, and kind of asking myself, you know, if I do this project that comes up out of nowhere, is it something that I feel like I can worship God with? And when I say worship God, I just worship is a positioning of your heart. You know, are you positioning your heart towards the Lord and what you're doing and giving that to Him and creating, like you're creating it as an act of if like you were going to give it to God as a gift, you know? And so what email do we send it to? I think we're still waiting on that. Gabe, do we have an email yet? Or are we still?
Not yet. Yeah.
Okay. We'll resend at the end of the call. We'll re-put all the information as far as for the contest. How long did it take you to make that video for your brother? We were in New York for probably 3 days, and then I spent a couple days filming some of the overhead shots of the pictures, and then it took over 100 hours of editing. If I were to redo it now, it wouldn't take that long, but it took a long time. Worth it though. For like a photo collage, do you have any Photoshop editing recommendations for programs? Ooh, as a Christian, I don't have any recommendations. As a professional, I recommend Adobe. How long did it take? Oh, I already read that one. Is it a sin to play video games? No, I don't think so. It just depends on where your heart's at. What editing software do you use that is effective? I personally use Premiere Pro and After Effects. Can it be a painting, drawing? Please. Oh, painting. Can somebody please do like, what is that? Like neon painting thing? It's like you paint it and it just like looks different with like black light or the UV light. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. If anybody knows that and you send it in, guaranteed win. Guaranteed. I'll personally send you something if you send it in. Just for one person though. If like 100 people send that, I am too broke. Can I use part of a drawing I already started if it would still work without? Yes, of course. I think my favorite thing is if you look at architecture, you can see these like old buildings that people go in and totally revamp, and they see something that is in a ugly state and they see it for what it is. I think that's absolutely acceptable. So if you can look at that and start to change that to be something that fits those 5 things, go for it. When and how can we rewatch this teaching? You can rewatch it today at 2 p.m. I would encourage you to go watch another live class though, and then I think in a couple days they'll be posting all of these live. Isn't that right, Gabe? In a couple days they're.
Yep.
Can I call you Gabe? Is that okay? Do you prefer Gabriel?
Perfect. No.
Okay.
Gabe's fine.
Sorry. I just
All
started
good,
saying,
man.
okay. What app did you use to make the video? I used a lot of After Effects and a little bit of Premiere. Because a lot of those shots were hyperlapses, which is basically I took a picture, took a step, took a picture, took a step, took a picture. If you rewatch it and see the shot where where it like flies backwards on the bridge, that took me 3 hours, and my brother held my backpack and we literally just like, it was terrible. Can I use part of the drawing? Yep, that one's good. Good questions. Good chats. Oh, okay, there's a bunch of questions over here too. Didn't see these. I'm probably not going to do this, but but can I make like an artistic video game? I code. Yes, absolutely. It's a craft, man. Do it. Absolutely. Harvest, and we made an acronym together right now. I think I'm reading it on a response or something. Okay, there's more questions in the question section. Are you having a good day? Carter Liddycoat. Well, Carter's a good friend of mine, and yes, I'm having a great day. Thank you, Carter. He always asks me that. It's a good friend. If we do a painting, do we have to mail it or send it in a picture of it? Please send a picture of it. I would always encourage you to keep your work if you can. Do you stream anywhere else? No. When we send it to you for the contest, does it have to be a video or a picture? It's up to you. It's up to what you create. It's what, it's totally up to you. As long as it has those 5 things in it, you could literally like teach your dog how to do something, you know? Can you tell us a Bible joke? I was reading the book of Numbers and I didn't see yours. If we're doing a drawing for the question, can it be separate drawings or does it have to be a cohesive drawing? Up to you. My brother, Satori. Do you know you are the best older brother in the world? If you rewatch the video, he spells world as wold. I do now, Seth. Thank you. See more questions. I got glow paint. That's what it's called. Glow paint. Thank you, Sam. I love that stuff. That is so cool. Was the video made in 2020? No, it was actually filmed in 2017 and I finished it by 2018. There's also a follow-up video of that where you can see my brother react to it. So it's on that same channel. This channel's dead, by the way. It's something I wanted to start and I never finished. Maybe it won't be dead forever though. Okay, we got 5 more minutes left, so let's do a couple more questions, yeah? And then
Hey, Jacob, quick question for you. Do you have, I guess if we use SoCal, do you think it'd be okay to use the SoCal like main email to send?
Yeah. Will that go to Ashton?
I don't, probably.
Okay, yeah. As long as it goes to somebody who can forward them on to me, then that's great.
Okay, perfect.
Great. I'll answer a couple more questions and then we'll kind of just recap the rules and the hashtags and everything like that. Does it show the time 12:54 a.m. even though it's p.m. for y'all too? Nope. Where can you get glow paint? I don't know. I didn't even know it's called glow paint. What is the email address? I think Gabe is putting that in right now. Can I compose my own classical music violin piece? Please. My girlfriend is a music major and I don't get music at all. And so whenever she plays on the piano, I'm like, how is that a thing? And so violin is right up there with piano. So did the video take you a year to make? It took me a long time. It took me a long time. I would say, I think it did take me a year to finish, but it was kind of like it was an on and off thing. Is being into fashion a sin? I think it is you've got to really be intentional if you're going to start to step into that stuff and just really be checking your heart. But I don't think liking fashion is a sin. I mean, even in the Exodus 31 piece, it talks about making the robes for Aaron and stuff like that. I don't know don't quote me on that from a theological perspective, but I guess, just check your heart. Can we build something that includes the 5 questions? Yes, please. It has to include the 5 questions. What if I send you a montage of a game? Please do it. It can be Warzone. It can be whatever. Can it be watercolor paint? I don't know what that is. Is that bad? I don't even know what is that like the stuff you did in second grade? Do we know, Gabe? Do you know if that's what watercolor paint is? Like the second grade?
Watercolor paint, yeah, it is.
Okay, great. Yes, please do watercolor paint. How long have you been filming? 15 years. Pretty sure you already answered this, but what do you use to edit the video? You did a great job on it, by the way. Thank you. I used After Effects and Adobe Premiere. Live Center. Okay. Sounds good. Pretty sure you already answered this. Oh, I answered it twice. Okay. Cool. Well, I think we'll start wrapping up now. I know there's a couple questions still popping in, but
there's the overview right there. So any art form, yeah, it's in the chat there if you want to hit everybody up with it one more time. I think I've got everything there.
Yep. Yep, that looks great. So yeah, it's got to be done by next Friday the 31st. Hashtag is SDE2020. Instagram, the Jake guy. You can also tag the Foursquare Next Gen Instagram too. Just tag both of us. And then yeah, we will pick a few pieces next Friday and send you guys some gifts and whatnot. And would love to see what you guys make. Cool. Goodbye, Luciano. Goodbye. All right. Well, that's fun. Thanks for everything, Gabe. It was a lot of fun. I think everybody's got their info right there. I'm gonna paste the link right here again one last time, just to that video if you want to watch it again. Boom. Sounds good. All right. Well, goodbye, everybody. Thanks again, Gabe. This has been fun.
Thank you, Jacob. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. I'll see you guys later.